So today we will have a WBAF and Busan collaboration session. And at the very first, I was on the phone with my girlfriend last night, and I said I'm really nervous for the event. And she said, "Oh, what if?" No, I said, "What if I make mistakes?" But she said, "It's my job to make fun of you, so don't let other people do it. So even I make a mistake today, don't laugh at me." And today we will share the ideas Asia startup ecosystem and how we gonna collaborate with Busan City. Let's begin with the welcome speech from Derek Kim, Contnts Chair Asia of WBAF, South Korea. Let's give him a big applause.
네, 반갑습니다.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Is it being broadcast online right now? So today's session, as I think, is really meets the theme of Fly Asia 2022. So if you have any friends nearby you wandering around this room, so please invite them. So according to the statistics of 2015, in the year of 2015, the global angel investors in the United States, there were 300,000 angel investors, and there was $2.5 million of angel investment from the United States. And 6 billion euros of angel investment was made from the European countries, and overall, $50 billion of angel investment was made globally. And most came from the United States and Europe. So Asia and Middle East and South America and the locations where angel investment is lacking are required to have more angel investment, and that is why this WBAF was born. And WBAF is in relation to G20 summit, where our president recently attended. So we are a global partner of G20 summit, and IFC and London Stock Exchange Group and World Association of World Investment Association and International Association of Science Park and Innovations and Middle East Business Angel Investment and World Korea Economic Zone Federation and Association of Chamber of E-commerce, and all these leading international organizations are in strategic relationship with us. In Korea, Korea Acceleration Association is a regional partner of us. And from 2019, I have been working as a Korea representative for WBAF, including me, 2 Korean senators, and 4 international partners are working in Korea. And one of the main roles of WBAF is that we have a 1-week Angel Week globally every year. And last year and a year before last year, we conducted an online event, but it was viewed by more than 100,000 people around the world. And once every year, we also have a general assembly to talk about the issues of startup ecosystem around the world. So we have a global startup ecosystem division and global science and technology division to conduct various activities. And senators who have come to Korea this time came from Bangladesh, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Hong Kong. So they are representing each country to work as a senator for WBAF. And We are also working in collaboration with the Busan Startup Association to learn how we can collaborate with each other to create a good ecosystem for startups. So this forum will be a good opportunity to talk about this. So please sit through this session and enjoy this time. Thank you.
Speech from Derek Kim. Let's give him a big applause, Derek Kim. And the next is a video message from Baibas Altuntas, Executive Chairman of WBAF.
All the best from the World Business Angels Investment Forum to South Korea. And congratulations on the hosting of the Fly Asia Conference in Busan. As an affiliated partner of the G20 Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion, GPFI, the World Business Angels Investment Forum is committed to empowering the world economy through innovation, entrepreneurship, and angel investments. We have four main missions: enhancing the digital inclusion around the world, increasing financial inclusion, promoting gender equality, and easing access to finance for entrepreneurs, startup founders, and scale-up founders. I am sure Fly Asia Conference will serve to ease access to finance for entrepreneurs not only in South Korea, but also in Asia too. WBAF is contributing to the development of the Asian entrepreneurial ecosystems through its country office in Thailand, National Science Technology Development Agency of Thailand, as a global partner of the WBAF, is cooperating to empower the Asian economies through innovation and entrepreneurship. I am sure policymakers, entrepreneurs, scale-ups, SMEs, and innovators joining the Fly Asia Conference will find a rewarding experience by following all sessions, and this particular session of the conference, the WBF Roundtable, will serve as a good bridge between the World Business Angels Investment Forum and South Korea to create more values and more jobs and more social justice for South Korean and Asian economies. Thank you very much, and wishing you a fruitful and successful conference and round table. All the best.
Right. Thanks, Mr. Altuntas. And we have a gentleman from India, Harris Coover here, and he will share us the overview of Indian startup ecosystem. Let's give him a big applause, Harris.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. The topic what I'm going to discuss is about the Indian startup ecosystem. The Startup India is initiated by the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, during the year 2015. It is to help the people who want to start their own business. What is a startup ecosystem? It comprises of mainly 6 elements. One is talent, second is education, third one is location and events, fourth is mentorship, the next one is incubation, and the last one is funding. The funding part always comes the last part only. And what is the product of startup ecosystems? A contribution, mainly production of jobs, distribution of wealth and creation of wealth, improved standard of living, growth in the GDP, and promote exports and overall economic development of the country. As of now, India ranks the 3rd in the global startup ecosystem with more than 4,500 new age companies. This is a brief in the state of Indian startup economy. Is a third one, 57,000 Indian startup companies, and the total valuation is 131 billion US dollar. And the funded startup is 5,068, and overall Indian startup is in the Unicom Club is 105. And comparing with the three countries, United States is the number one, China is the second, and India is the third one. The total funding is 1.1 trillion for United States, and China is for 624 billion, and for India for 112. Overall, India have number of startup is 58,795 till 2022. While comparing the three countries, major countries, United States number one, global unicorns. Unicom is the 1 billion valuation company. Second one is China, and third one is India, 105. The top 10 most funded startup in India is Flipkart, Byju's, Ola, Oyo, Renew, Swiggy, Zomato, Paytm, Dreams, and PhonePe. And all are different sectors of the startup economy. The top startup hub in India is Bangalore, is a most number of startups, and second is Delhi, and third one is Mumbai. This is a sector-wise Indian startup systems. One is a ERP, the number one. I'm reading only the top one. Zoho is the number one in startup in ERP, and like fintech, Paytm, and like that Ola is there is like Uber. These are the top companies in Indian landscape system. The overall funding raised by the fintech is 24 billion almost, and e-commerce is 30 billion, and healthcare sector is 5.5 billion overall raised, and the total number of mergers and acquisition is almost 2021, 13, and 2022 it is almost 7. And consumer service in India is almost 12 billion raised over the period. EdTech is the largest number of investment has come in EdTech industry, and EdTech is growing very fast in India. In EdTech, there are 4 sectors are there. One is a K2, and in the Byju's is a number 1, and then the second one is test preparations, online certification, and skill development. These are the main companies, growing up companies in this sector. EdTech is a number 1 growth, 31% growth in agri sector. India is basically an agricultural country, and agriculture's government is promoting a lot of initiatives for developing the agriculture sector, and around 2 billion USD has raised in agri sector startups in India. These are the main companies. This is a location-wise. As I told you before, Bangalore is the number 1 Silicon Valley in India, which is the largest number of startup in India. The state is Karnataka. Karnataka is around 4,000 registered startups are there. Second one is Delhi, around 6,500 startups are there, and third one is Maharashtra, and 12,000 registered startups are there in Maharashtra. And top acquisitions is Flipkart, number 1, acquired by Walmart. And top acquirers is one of the Flipkart itself is acquired by Myntra and PhonePe and Levi. And this important one is the state of Indian unicorns and Sunicorns. Sunicorns are the companies which are going to become unicorns. Unicorns is $1 billion valuation company. Around 103 Sunicorns are there in India, and 105 unicorns are in India. And around the unicorns, so far 4 lakhs employment have generated, and in Sunicorns around 1 lakh employment have already created. And in India, as I told you, 105 unicorns in 2022. The investor landscape, there are venture capital firms, angel investors, accelerators, corporate ventures, and individual investors. Individual investors is Kunal Shah is number 1, and second one is there Mohandas Pai from Infosys Technologies. And notable, these are the list of notable investors in India. And there are a number of notable accelerators and incubation in India. The public market, there are some of the startup companies already they're listed in stock exchanges for raising the capital market. And these are the companies already new age Indian tech stock market public performance companies. Zomato, Paytm, and Delivery, these are the companies already listed. And upcoming startups are also coming up. These are the upcoming startups coming in 2022. In gender-wise, women-led startups. Women-led, the statistics is around 11 billion raised across 785 startups. And in Bangalore city, there are more number of women startups are generated. And e-commerce and edtech have the highest number of funded women-led startup in India. And corporate playground, if you see, Reliance Industries is the largest investor in startup. They are giving funding for startups in India as well as those promising startups which are coming across Asia or around the globe. And the one interesting factor is more than highest in India is the youngest startup nation in the world. See the statistics, 31% of the promoters are from between the age of 31 to 35 years. And most of the startups promoters are from the background of engineering graduation, that is around 35%. Forecasting is the future outlook of Indian startup ecosystem is 180 billion estimated total funding for startup by 2023 by the government of India. By 2025, the number of startup in India is expected to cross 100,000, creating more than 3.25 million jobs. The total funding in Indian startup is likely to increase to over 150 billion. And value creation of Indian startup is expected to exceed 500 billion. This is a summary of Indian startups. India has the third largest startup economy of the world. India have 105 unicorns. Currently, the Indian unicorns have highest average rate growth than the countries United States and China. And currently, the scope for investment in Indian foreign investment for startup in India is much high for foreign angel investors, venture capitalists, and institutional investors. And finally, I'm concluding my session with the word of the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. If a lot of people loved each other, the world would have been a better place to live. Thank you.
Thanks, Aries. I think 10 minutes is too short for you. And second is Farah from Malaysia. And she's Malaysia country chair of WBAF and also co-founder of Contnts Ventures. Please welcome.
Annyeonghaseyo. Good day, everybody. Thank you for having me here. Firstly, I would like to thank the Busan Metropolitan City, KAA, Busan Techno Park, Busan Startup Agency Preparation Office, Mr. Derek Kim, the chair of WBAF Asia, Mr. Yong Sup, and Mr. Kyu Wang Yon for your generous hospitality for inviting us here today. I'm Wan Farah Ayu, and I am also the senator, WBAF senator for Malaysia, country chair, WBAF. And I also sit on the Global Startup Committee for WBAF. Okay, let us just start with my presentation. So I've given this topic on how to expand human and material exchanges through the establishment of cooperative networks for each Asian city for improving investments conditions leading to the spread of Asian startup culture. So the suggestions for building the collective ecosystem to promote Asian startup culture will include that we have to establish bilateral and multilateral relationships through the cooperative networks with each representative country in Asia. Currently, we already have existing outfits that actually deliver all these functions, especially under Asian, under ABAA, and under a few other outfits as well. So finding and establishing a common end goal and objectives to achieve together as a collective regional startup group. And we have to have regular and timely interactions and discussions on matters concerning the region, such as what we're having here today. And this can be done by having interconnections, cross-collaborations, and dialogues. And it should involve collective efforts from all respective nations and existing entities already there. Also, Asian working in concert with OECD, Asian Development Bank, ABAA, of which the director is here, Mr. P. And there's an initiative by our governments to collaborate and build a common entity with shared common goals and objectives. And the cooperative entity should have member perspectives from every participating nation to enable them to collectively participate, and the size should be implementable. We should start addressing the issues, already we are, addressing the issues and challenges prevalent in the startup ecosystem, and providing necessary solutions, understanding the needs, problems and challenges that are faced in the respective countries and addressing them. And in Malaysia, we have the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, where we have drafted the roadmap from 2021 to 2030, where we actually study and implement the best practices from the ecosystem that has excellently performed in growing and developing the startups, especially Silicon Valley. We are looking up to the successful ecosystems. So we are looking into the culture of problem solving, innovation, and regarding failure as a learning curve and not something to be ashamed of. And here I have the list of the Unicorn Club startups. I'm sorry, it's a unicorn list with a valuation of more than 1 billion as at 7 October. So the first part is actually coming from Asia. The first one is ByteDance, so it has a valuation of 140 billion. And the second one is my favorite, it's a Shine. They actually design and sell clothes online direct to the clients. So they have a valuation of 100 billion and all that. So, and here this list, it gives the valuation of each respective unicorn, the date they join, country, city, industry, and also who are the selected investors. And the part down here is actually coming from Korea. So we see there's a lot of unicorns coming from Korea, like, YOLO Mobile and all that. Yeah. Recently, there was an event that took place in Indonesia, G20, where we have the regional updates on advancing regional digital payment and connectivity. These are the 5 central bankers that came together and decided that we are going to have digital connectivity, and we signed an MOU to enable cross-border payments. That means we do not have to change to USD before we actually do a transaction. It can be done locally using our local currencies. Yeah. Next. So this is the list of unicorns in Southeast Asia. As you can see, the levels, 142 billion for C and Grab. We also have that in Malaysia, Gojek, Lazada, Tokopedia, Bukalapak. These are some of the unicorns coming from Southeast Asia, and their valuation ranging from 1 billion to 142 billion. And these are actually a snapshot of what we have done little on the startup ecosystem in Malaysia. The one up there is by Sparks, Huawei Sparks Collaboration. This is actually done in Meranti. And the next one is Alibaba Create, of which I sat as a judge. And the one on the right is actually World Business Angel Week in 2022, where we feature not only startups, but we also invite the agencies and also participating investors and ecosystem players to be part together to understand the needs and challenges that the startups are going through. So here we also have the Google Business Group, and I'm also the representative for the Center of Excellence in AI for Malaysia. So if any of you would like to adopt AI, you can actually come and approach me later. So this is some of the startups that we have covered under World Business Angel Week. One Ascend.ai is my own that I'm creating. I'm actually building an AI system for investment management, which will help entrepreneurs to actually draft their own term sheet and also help investors and entrepreneurs together to come up with the proper valuation. And these are some of the companies. And this is a Malaysia FinTech map in 2022. As you can see, we have grown leaps and bounds, and we welcome collaborations with all other existing parties. The Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation has come up with a paper for ecosystem roadmap from 2021 to 2030, where we actually classified the relevant stages of the startups, where we start with activation stage, globalization stage, extraction stage, and integration stage. So I believe now we have so much more than 1,200 startups, definitely. So when we study the Silicon Valley system, we actually can credit it to a few key strengths, where Silicon Valley actually does a dual ecosystem of large firms and startups, where startups nestle among the large firms to increase the source of human capital. There's also top talents and expertise helping out the startups from the big corporates. There's strategic alliance in between the key ecosystem players, high density of wealthy investors and funding institutions, adaptive regulations and welcoming VC environment. And in Malaysia, we also have like venture capital initiative, where we have a tax exemption, a tax holiday for the VCs for 10 years. So when we look into building a vibrant ecosystem, we have to see like what are the factors that we need to see to build the ecosystem. So we have to look into the regulatory environment, regulatory framework, what are legal and administrative barriers, and reforming the legal and regulatory frameworks to have equal tax treatments for startups, updating licensing requirements and compliance needs. The next one, we look at the infrastructure, market conditions, access to finance, knowledge creation and diffusion, capabilities, and culture. So I'm just going to pick one. Let's say access to finance. We should look into the funding gaps, and we should also close the funding gaps, de-risking the market for private players. And then we look into the suitable instruments that we should give out to the respective startups and companies. And into the culture, since we are into promoting the startup culture, we should learn how to enable the startups to progress better with providing the facilities and also transforming their mindsets, and especially providing entrepreneurial educations, events, and awareness campaigns. So in summary, strategic bilateral, multilateral relations will enable the progress and growth of startups in this region. And there has to be a certain degree of resolve, unity, and agreement between the member countries of the ecosystems involved, collective government support in terms of grants, national sandbox, national accelerators, national budgets. And there will be massive increase in knowledge transfer, commercialization, brand awareness, cross-border sales, and general economic prosperity, where startups in the world changing solutions are being enabled. So thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope to connect with you in the coming days, so please feel free to contact with me. So I feel there's no better photo to actually relay this harmonization between these efforts to bring startups together than what WBAF have done. Kamsahamnida. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Farah. It looks very vibrant. Malaysia has their own startup ecosystem. The third is Phinh Nguyen from Vietnam. She's a senator for Vietnam of WBAF. At the same time, she's the chairwoman of Vietnam Angel Network. Please welcome.
Thank you, Chair Young. Hello, Busan. Big round of applause, please. We are in a startup world. More energy, more energy, more energy. That's it. Okay. So first of all, my name is Phinh Nguyen. I'm the senator of WBAF in Vietnam. But I have been very honored to sit on the board of the Ministry of Technology and Science of Vietnam to help build the startup and innovation ecosystem for Vietnam. So I have been there from day one. It wasn't long ago, it was 5 years ago that Vietnam started to embark on the responsibility on the project of building Vietnam, especially the key cities like Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi to become the startup hubs, not only of the country, but also of the region. So for me to stand here in Busan, and first of all, I have to congratulate Busan for starting the ecosystem with the first event ever. This is fantastic to see. Thank you so much for doing that. And I hope that my story, which I share about how we build the ecosystem in Vietnam, would help to connect the two countries and the two cities together. As you can see on the slide, there's the word NATEC. NATEC is actually the national agency tasked by the Ministry of Science and Technology of Vietnam to build the startup and innovation ecosystem for Vietnam. And I'm sitting on the board of that particular agency. So Vietnam, in 2016, we started building the ecosystem with 0 startup. And for 3 years, all we did was basically running a lot of media and propaganda about what startup is all about, what entrepreneurship is all about, you know, how you can actually go from 0 to hero, from 0 to a unicorn of $1 billion. So there was a lot of media attention, and there were a lot of young people from universities and probably first jobbers starting to start up. And you can see that with that happening, obviously the first batch of startups in Vietnam would be very much app-based, e-commerce-based, you know, putting a little bit of digitalization into the current services and products. So the first 3 years we created around 3,000 startups. 3 years, 3,000 startups. So huge congratulations to the government of Vietnam. However, 3,000 startups, but we have a lot of very young people who don't know how to take, you know, an idea to success in commercialization. Therefore, there were a lot of startups, there were a lot of young people getting out there to help bring, you know, create new companies, but also at the same time, the rate of success is very low. But that is, to me, very essential for a new ecosystem. You need to have that energy. You need to have everyone getting out there, daring to do things, getting out of corporates to do things, getting corporates to start thinking about supporting the ecosystem and supporting young entrepreneurs. Right now, we're in 2022, and Vietnam has already been acknowledged as one of the coming up startup ecosystem in the world. And obviously, the biggest city in Vietnam is Ho Chi Minh City. Put it this way, so Ho Chi Minh City has about 14 to 16 million in population. Hanoi has about 6 million, so the second biggest city. And then Da Nang is another third biggest city in Vietnam with about 2 million in population. So what happens is Ho Chi Minh City is like the soul of South Korea, very big ecosystem. But then from Ho Chi Minh City, the second tier cities are now very much coming up, emerging, and very much connected to Ho Chi Minh City. So now we're not talking about just Ho Chi Minh City as a startup ecosystem anymore. We basically have a lot of activities that are connectivity in regional activities in the south, in the middle of Vietnam, or in the north of Vietnam. And then obviously we also have huge events that connect all the cities together into one startup show of the whole nation. So that's the story of Vietnam. In terms of ecosystem-wise, I remember 2016 we have 0. We have the startup community, and then we have some investors, and then we have the government trying to help startups to actually grow. When I joined the board in 2016, we actually draw a very long-term plan, roadmap for Vietnam to build the ecosystem up. So we said, okay, now we need to have the community of media to help. We need to have the community of investors. Investors-wise, at the beginning, a lot of Series A, Series B, VCs come to Vietnam, couldn't find enough startups to invest in because the ecosystem was very young. So then we have to think about building the angel investment community, the seed stage investment communities. We also support and help VCs to start running incubation and acceleration. So, because without the accelerators and without the incubators helping to nurture the startups, you will not have enough quality startups to invest in. So then we move into that area. And then after that, we move into the institutions. So we have universities, we have institutions, we have science parks, techno parks, now being part of the ecosystem and working together. So from a very dispersed ecosystem of everyone doing their own job, the government's job was to bring them all together and build the connectivity, bring them to the table, get the connected programs going, and help them to actually promote a unified ecosystem. That is, to me, the most important thing, especially for a young ecosystem like Busan. So I was listening to Harry saying, talking about India and 105 unicorns. We only have 3. We're a very young, very, very young ecosystem. But at the same time, we have quite a few unicorns, as the term that he proposed before, coming up very strongly, especially after COVID. Pre-COVID, there were a lot of young startups. And after COVID, a lot of young startups died because they couldn't get funding, they couldn't get cash, they couldn't get anything going. But at the same time, out of that was born a very quality community of startups, especially people who get out of big corporations or coming back to Vietnam from overseas to start up. We start seeing a lot of founders team that are cross-national. So we start seeing founders team that are from Vietnam, from Singapore, from Korea, all working together to form a new startup. And obviously, at the moment, the hottest topic in Vietnam is the support of big corporations for the startup ecosystem. So I'm very happy to see here POSCO or BNK, right? BNK Bank supporting startups in the ecosystem, because I think it's very important that everyone in the innovation ecosystem should be there to support the startup ecosystem and then work together. So far, our ecosystem is quite complete, and we're trying to also, from this year to the next 2 years, to bring not only big corporations, but also SMEs, because SMEs can take about 96 to 98% of the economy in any ASEAN countries, especially in Vietnam, it's 98%. So if we leave them out, and we're talking about innovation, then obviously we're not completing the picture. So at the moment, we have huge plans to run acceleration programs, or what we call business transformation programs, to bring SMEs into the ecosystem and transform them from SME into startups or into digital enterprises. So that's another really good initiative happening in Vietnam at the moment. So it brings a lot of energy to the ecosystem itself. So there you go, government initiatives. The government is really supporting the ecosystems. And from the 2nd to the 4th of December this year, there'll be the biggest national tech event in Vietnam called Tech Fest in Bình Dương, which is a second-tier city just next to Ho Chi Minh City. So I welcome you all to come and explore the ecosystem. And I'm here because I'm also ready to connect and work with the government of Busan, with World Business Forum in Asia, and all friends to help connect the ecosystems together. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your energetic presentation, V. And the last one is Dr. Mohammed Nurzaman from Bangladesh and country chair of WBAF. Also, he is group CEO of Daffodil Family. Please welcome. And he's arrived in Busan this morning.
Sorry. Thank you so much for inviting me in Asia Startup Festival, Fly Asia, organized by Fly Asia 2022. I'm going to present the startup ecosystem of Bangladesh. Definitely, we have learned a lot from the speech or presentation from my previous colleagues from around Asia. Let's come to the point. The startup ecosystem, it's a buzzword probably in around the world, but definitely the ecosystem should be in place. But most of the economy's ecosystem is still growing, and Bangladesh is also not out of that listening or maybe initial or growing stage. This is some facts and figure of Bangladesh, which is the 35th largest economy. We are very small country, and 150 million population, which is 8th largest, but the country area is very small. And then 461 billion GDP, 2,734 GDP per capita. And we have a very constant growth rate, 6.8%. And then 52 billion exports and 2.9 billion FDI. And this and that 110 million active MFS, which is very encouraging to us. And 31,431 million MFS transaction daily, 62% population under 35, which is very strong point for Bangladesh is that we are in the peak of the demographic dividend, which are enjoying Bangladesh now. And then 3 factors boosting the startup ecosystem in Bangladesh. Number 1 is increasing digitization. COVID probably we have lost many things, but in IT sector we have also gained a lot of things. Especially the digitization has been increased globally, including Bangladesh. And then changing population demographics. I already told that Bangladesh has a very growing country and demographic dividend, that is almost 65% population is under 35. So that is also one of the point. And then supportive policy. Bangladesh government has given a very encouraging and motivating policy for the youths, so not only for Bangladesh or Bangladeshi startups or Bangladeshi startup investors, but also the investors from the globe. Next is just facts, few facts and figure. We are, as I said, we are a very small economies. So we have 1,200 plus minus active startups, 200 plus angel investors. As now we are talking from the platform of WBAF. So we are also trying to increase the angel investors. And angel investment, as per our perspective, the Bangladeshi perspective, is better for Bangladeshi startups, because one angels is not only giving the money or investing money, but also they are giving their experience and networking and all other things. And then 1.5 million job generation through these startups. That is also very encouraging so far, I understand. And 200 plus new startups in a year, 30 plus accelerator incubators, 415 million investment in 2021. and we are expecting it will double in 2022. And 804 million investment in last decade, 60 plus investment deals in 2021, and 3.9 million domestic investment in 2021, which is very smaller than maybe like Korea or India or some this sort of countries, because Bangladesh, I said that it's a very small country. It's a very, in terms of India, is almost probably in terms of population, we are one fifth of India, or one sixth. Next sector, especially every country's startups are trying to show sector-wise. In Bangladesh, is mature sector is now the financial, especially fintech. Everybody knows about fintech. Definitely, it's in the number one. Logistic and mobility, digital media and content, e-commerce, and ITS is the in the matured stage now. In terms of, if we think about 1,200 plus startups, most of them are in this sector, especially fintech and other things. And a growing sector is EdTech and health tech. In most of the nation, EdTech and health tech already in the growing stage, definitely in the developed countries. But as far as Bangladesh is concerned, we are now in the growing stage of these areas, especially EdTech and health tech. And like India is also, agri-tech is also very promising and emerging sector, and gaming. We are also doing, the startups are, has been started, a lot of startups in gaming as well as in deep tech and as well as AR/VR. So next slide is sector-wise investment. As I said in my previous slide, is fintech is number one in the almost matured stage. If you consider about 70.4% is in the fintech, and rest of the sectors are very slowly progressing. Logistic and mobility and e-commerce is growing, and probably by 2025 would be most important would be health tech and ed tech. It's already a lot of startups have stepped into these areas, and I believe it would be matured stage in by 2025. And then who are the investors, and what are the percentage of those by the investor type? Very grant stage is very 11%, pre-seed, then seed, SA, SV plus, SC, and last is the venture round, venture capital round. And 4% is grant, accelerator percent is 8%, and VC is 32% there, as per investor type. And this is different funding stage. So the significant thing, as I told in my second slide, is angels investment is growing very faster in Bangladesh, because as I already told the reason as well. The 38% is from angels, and VC part even more than the venture capital funding. That's the beauty as per my understanding, or Bangladesh understanding. And comparative analysis, startup investment in Bangladesh is, in case of, if we see in the Asia region, Singapore is in the top, and Bangladesh is in the 6th position, which is in billion, 416 billion. That is the statistics, and source is one from Light Castle Partners. Now I have come to the ecosystem that has been the focus of this session, the startup ecosystem of the economies, different economies of Asia. In case of Bangladesh, this is the support ecosystem. We divided it into 1, 2, 3, 4, that is 8 different areas. If you see in the lower left corner is academies and universities. Probably, I don't know about other nations. In Bangladesh, I am representing Bangladesh as well as my company is a group of companies. As we have one university which is called Daffodil International University. We have our 4 years bachelor program in innovation and entrepreneurship. So this is what the Bangladesh has given the emphasis in education. In each and every ecosystem needs the education, especially to know about the entrepreneurship. Definitely, there are a lot of short courses to educate them, lot of workshops, seminars, and symposium is going on. And that is the things. There's a lot of, one of the government, the top graded government university, Dhaka University is also doing the same. And this, the today's session chair, Derek Kim, is also part of that University of Dhaka startup ecosystem building and entrepreneurship education.
Sorry for interruption, Dr. Mohamed Nurzaman. The time is run out.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks for presentation here. And we are not done today, so we have a panel discussion as well. So yeah, we can share ideas more in the panel discussion.
Okay. This is just our university last one.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
thank you.
yeah, that is true. So we will have a 10-minute coffee break, and we will start at 4:05 again, and there will be a panel discussion with the panels. So and the panels are sitting there, so you guys can ask their name cards or slides or LinkedIn. So yeah, let's meet 10 minutes later. Thanks.